Namaskar and welcome to Gandhi Katha, story of Mahatma Gandhi, narrated by me during the commemoration of the 150th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi, which incidentally is also the 150th birth anniversary of Kasturba Gandhi, his wife. Kasturba Gandhi's sacrifice, suffering, and the contribution in making Mohan into the Mahatma and inspiring thousands of women to fight against injustice and racial discrimination in South Africa and in the Indian freedom struggle is extraordinary. I express my deep gratitude to the Embassy of India, Madrid in Spain, and Casa de la India in Valladolid for hosting the Gandhi Katha to learn from Mahatma Gandhi's philosophy of truth, non-violence, and purity of means, his spirituality, his environmental credo, his practices of health and wellness of body, mind, and spirit for coping up and staying safe physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually during and after the coronavirus COVID 19 pandemic, which has affected the entire humanity. October 2nd is world over celebrated as the UN International Day of Nonviolence and Gandhi Jayanti. We celebrate that in India as the birth anniversary of the father of our nation. The entire world is remembering Mahatma Gandhi, the apostle of peace and nonviolence. We have an opportunity to remind the humanity of the efficacy of the messages of Mahatma Gandhi. I pay my respects to the leading lights of Spain and convey my warm wishes to all of you who have joined me online today. We stand in solidarity with you all in our common fight against the coronavirus COVID 19 pandemic. To date, the movement of Catalonian independence has followed the non-violent path, employing classic methods of mass mobilization, independent action, and non cooperation, utilized by Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., and other pioneers in the civil resistance campaigns. Gandhi Katha is based on the ancient Indian oral tradition of Katha or storytelling with hymns and narrations. I have given talks in Gandhi Katha in 94 countries during the commemoration of the 150th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi in the past 2 years. In all the countries, people have great reverence and respect for Gandhiji. Many have been inspired by him to take up the cudgels against injustice through nonviolence. Others have followed his environmental credo, and still others have been deeply touched by his simple spiritual life. The humanism of the world's thought leaders are so deeply reflected in Mahatma Gandhi's teachings. The new generation is eager to understand more about the greatest man of the last century who made such a huge impact on humanity and inspired many world leaders such as Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Nelson Mandela, Father Desmond Tutu, Father Kunz, Saint Teresa, Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, Caesar Chavez, George Bernard Shaw, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and many others. Gandhiji used to begin and end his days with prayers. These were prayers from all the religions of the world. Gandhiji's internal core comprised of the essence of all the religions, one that he had acquired from long study and reflection. The devotional poetry of the saint poets that he had heard, sung, and absorbed since childhood made up a significant part of the life of his soul. He said that ultimately all the religions point to the same truth of compassion, love, forgiveness, and tolerance, and that everyone must study the essence of all the religions in an attitude of perfect reverence and must have friendship and respect for the practitioners of different religions and diverse cultures. All of Gandhiji's friends were from different religions and cultural backgrounds from around the world. According to my understanding, Mahatma Gandhi's life was an epic of faith and endeavor. His faith was in truth, the ultimate reality of truth, and he endeavored to attain it through non-violence throughout his life till the very last breath. Gandhiji's adherence to truth, non-violence, and purity of means has inspired me to give Gandhi Katha so that people can put their hearts into understanding Gandhiji, get inspired to learn from his extraordinary moral and ethical leadership, his simple spiritual life, revolutionary thoughts, actions, his lifelong service to humanity against all forms of violence and injustice, and how he continues to inspire people in all the parts of the globe at all times and in all ages. Perhaps the greatest source of strength for Mahatma Gandhi was in his faith in God. Truth was the deepest and the most complete form of God. The faith gave him the constant realization that he was to be nothing but an instrument in his hands. He was to go wherever he was led. All the great masters of the world had already walked on that path. For him, the guidance of God constituted two things. One, he had to walk on the path enlightened by truth that was available to him in whatever measures and form. Two, he had to constantly gaze inwards and find inspiration through self introspection, self examination, and self purification. He did it by repeated questioning, and that question was Ko Aham, who am I? What am I? And what is the purpose of my life? This question has been asked in our ancient Indian civilization since the past 5,000 years. The answer came to Mahatma Gandhi that the purpose of life was to serve others. The deeper the faith, the greater was the endeavor for Mahatma Gandhi. He said, Truth is God. Faith in truth led Mahatma Gandhi to two other realizations. If God is omnipresent, then truth is omnipresent too. If each human being were an aspect of God, then each person is capable of being truthful, of being good and doing good to others. The second realization was that in spite of all the upheavals in the history of humankind, humanity will only progress in an auspicious direction because truth, that is God, is only interested in the welfare of its creation. His endeavor throughout his life was devoted to the search of that element of truth, to awaken it and to nurture it. This is why he could feel oneness with everyone. For most of us, this realization does not set in easily. But because of this understanding of oneness, Gandhiji had no enemies. He did not want to settle scores with anyone, nor did he want to take any revenge. He merely wanted to extend his love, compassion, and respect to everyone. He respected individuals as individuals, and that was one of the traits that we see in Gandhiji. Romeo Rolla, the French writer and the pacifist who won the Nobel Prize for Literature, wrote Gandhiji's biography in 1924, and that really introduced Gandhi to the Western world. He wrote, and I quote, The little man is so fragile in appearance, is tireless, and fatigue is a word that does not exist in his vocabulary. He could calmly answer for hours without a muscle of his face twitching. His mind proceeds through successive experiments into action and he follows a straight line, but he never stops. I will play the Gandhi Katha dhun or hymn in Hindi that elaborates on Gandhiji's definition of truth as having harmony between thoughts, words, and deed.
मन वाणी कर्म में सत्य ही तू बोल, मन वाणी कर्म में सत्य ही तू बोल, जीवन में मंगल के द्वार दे तू खोल, जीवन में मंगल के द्वार दे तू खोल, ज्ञान कर्म भक्ति का हो सम्यक विधान, ज्ञान कर्म भक्ति का हो सम्यक विधान, सत्य शिव सुंदर का सुमधुर गान, सत्य शिव सुंदर का सुमधुर गान, मन वाणी कर्म में सत्य ही तू बोल, मन वाणी कर्म में सत्य ही तू बोल, जीवन में मंगल के द्वार दे तू खोल, जीवन में मंगल के द्वार दे तू खोल, ज्ञान कर्म भक्ति का हो सम्यक विधान, ज्ञान कर्म भक्ति का हो सम्यक विधान, सत्य शिव सुंदर का सुमधुर गान, सत्य शिव सुंदर का सुमधुर गान।
Mahatma Gandhi's philosophy was primarily truth centered. Truth was the first and foremost principle in Gandhian philosophy. Gandhiji's life was a continuous series of experiments with truth, and that's what is the name or the title of his autobiography, My Experiments with Truth. He applied his philosophy to his own life through selfless service and to practical social and political service through his non-violent civil disobedience campaigns, which he termed as Satyagraha. Satyagraha is his first gift to humanity. To understand Gandhiji's thought and philosophy, one must understand him as a whole and not in parts. His thoughts on various subjects ranging from religion, economics, education, health, environment, society, politics, literature, culture, and many others need to be studied in depth, understood, and adopted according to the context. His life is filled with many kinds of challenges, solutions, and achievements. He used truth as an experiment, not only in politics, but in his personal life too. For Gandhiji, truth is the relative truth of truthfulness in thought, word, and deed, and the absolute truth was the ultimate reality. The ultimate truth is God and morality, the moral laws and code, its basis. Nonviolence, far from meaning mere peacefulness or the absence of overt violence, is understood by Gandhiji to denote active love. Gandhiji's nonviolence stems from two main points. First, if according to the divine reality all life is one, then all violence committed towards another is violence towards oneself, towards the collective, whole self, and thus self destructive and counter to the universal law of life, which is love. Secondly, Gandhiji believed that non-violence is the most powerful force in existence. Had violence been superior to non-violence, humankind would long ago have succeeded in destroying itself. The human race certainly could not have progressed as far as it has, even if universal justice remains far off the horizon. From both viewpoints, nonviolence or love is regarded as the highest law of humankind. Another aspect that gave him strength was the clarity that he had acquired from years of experiments and reflection on the philosophical content of Satyagraha. He was clear that Satyagraha was based on the principle of Advaita, of non duality. If the same essence of soul encompasses all human beings, It would allow a satyagrahi to become one with the oppressor. Any failure to touch and reach out to the opponent would be a failure of Satyagrahi and not a shortcoming of the philosophy of Satyagraha. Moreover, with the experience that he had had over years, he had begun to see love as a very powerful and positive force. The challenge before him was to use this force with effect. The bigger the challenge, the more enthused Gandhiji was by it. Gandhiji realized that untruth, injustice, oppression, and tyranny last only as long as their victims accept them. The moment one learns to say no to untruth and injustice, their edifice collapses immediately. This was true for the political, the economic, and the social order. Mahatma Gandhi is the greatest apostle of peace and nonviolence the world has seen in the recent past. His notion of peace is focused on tolerance, forgiveness, compassion, oneness, truth force, love force, and soul force. Gandhiji had said, if we have no charity and no tolerance, we shall never settle our differences amicably and must therefore always submit to the arbitration of a third party. Many of today's conflict management techniques and resolution processes have a clear shadow of what and how Gandhiji had seen international issues in his times. Albert Einstein, the greatest scientist of the first half of the 20th century, had called Mahatma Gandhi as the supreme practical leader for change. He said, and I quote, I believe that Gandhi's views were the most enlightened of all the political men in our times. We should strive to do things in his spirit, not to use violence in fighting for our cause, but by non participation in anything you believe is evil. He had also very famously said that generations to come will scarce believe that such a man like this, in flesh and blood, ever walked on this earth. Gandhiji was the conscience keeper of humanity. That his ideas will be an inspiration to us both as individuals and as society is beyond any doubt. He was an epoch maker, one who could sow the seeds for the next generation from the fruits of the previous one. Mahatma Gandhi is the most powerful visionary and a practical leader, practical idealist from the first half of the last century, whose life is a role model for us all. But the effort has to begin from the point where you're standing. That is what made all Mahatma Gandhi's idealist actions practical, and he can be truly called a man of action. But it does not only mean he was very busy, that of course he was. What we mean is the action of putting ideas or beliefs into practice more than anything else was the driving force in his life. The answer for Mahatma Gandhi was always found in action. He had said, an ounce of practice is worth more than tons of preaching. So one has to understand him not only through the intellect, but also from the emotional part of you and from the acts of his life. Usually, people see him from different perspectives. Some people may think of Gandhiji as a politician, but at the same time, some would think of him as a saint, and there are others who will think of Gandhiji as a nation builder. He may be all this, but I think when we consider Gandhiji, we have to try to find out what is the common stream in all these different aspects of life that you see in his personality. One was the commitment to value, and the second one was efficiency in the kind of work that he did. This is part of his comprehensiveness, and there was a unique mixture of, for example, enthusiasm on one hand and patience on the other. Mahatma Gandhi has made significant and seminal contributions that span across such disciplines such as economics, spirituality, conflict resolution, international peace, civil rights, education, politics, and much more. And this is something at that time, it was a different kind of world, and it was the most harmful and destructive impact on the world was that of imperialism, colonization, violence, war, materialism, and the greed for controlling the world. Mahatma Gandhi advised to shun these seven social sins in his speech on October 22nd, 1925. Politics without principle, wealth without work, commerce without ethics, knowledge without character, pleasure without conscience, science without morality, worship without sacrifice. In my opinion, Mahatma Gandhi's life left the most powerful and strong imprint on the humanity of the world. He had said, "My life is my message." John Haynes Holmes, a pacifist, anti war activist, and the founder of the American Civil Liberties Union, had met Gandhiji in London in 1931 and then in India in 1947. He found Mahatma Gandhi's presence, those bright eyes shining through his spectacles, his voice so clear and yet so gentle, the whole presence so simple and yet so strong. He had said that I believe that he is unquestionably the greatest man living in the world today and one of the greatest men who has ever lived. I think of Gandhi, I think of Jesus Christ. He lives his life, he speaks his words, he suffers, strives, and will someday nobly die for his kingdom of honor. I will play Gandhi Katha Dhun in Hindi. It's a hymn in Hindi about Gandhiji's philosophy of truth, non-violence, purity of means that combined to make Satyagraha.
लागी रे लगन लागी रे लगन सत्य अहिंसा में मन मेरा मगन सत्य अहिंसा में मन मेरा मगन लागी रे लगन लागी रे लगन सत्य अहिंसा में मन मेरा मगन सत्य अहिंसा में मन मेरा मगन अहिंसा से सत्याग्रह सीखा सत्य अहिंसा से सत्याग्रह सीखा सर्व प्रकार के भय का मोचन सर्व प्रकार के भय का मोचन सत्य अहिंसा में मन मेरा मगन लागी लगन लागी लगन सत्य अहिंसा में मन मेरा मगन सत्य अहिंसा में मन मेरा मगन
Time magazine had listed out three most important protests over 190 years. The first one is the Boston Tea Party. The second one is the Dandi March or the Salt Satyagraha. And the third one is the March of Washington. We can see a common thread. The first and second were against the same company, the East India Company. And there's a common thread of non-violence in all three. In 1930, with a pinch of salt, Mahatma Gandhi shook the world. He started out on 12th March from his Sabarmati ashram in Ahmedabad in Gujarat to Dandi, the seashore town, with 79 fellow marchers, walked for 24 days, walking 10 miles a day, stopped at 48 villages to give talks morning and evening, covering 241 miles till he reached the Dandi shore on 5th April. In the early hours of the morning on 6th April, when he picked up a fistful of muddy lump of earth with salt, 100,000 people joined him, and towards the end of the campaign, 300,000 people broke the salt law all over India. 1,362 newspapers covered the news, and William Lawrence Shearer, the journalist, was there, and he gave his graphic reporting of the salt satyagraha and brought the incidents to the notice of the Western world. He had spent some memorable time with Gandhiji, and the experience changed his life. Gandhiji remains as the most powerful global brand ambassador of peace and nonviolence, a youth icon who fought against injustice, an apostle of peace and nonviolence, a man whose values can make the world a better place today. In 1904, in South Africa, after reading John Ruskin's book, Unto This Last, Barrister Mohandas Gandhi transformed his life overnight and started leading a community life of self-control, voluntary poverty, bread labor, and Sarvodaya, welfare of all. He established 4 ashrams in his lifetime, 2 in South Africa, called Phoenix Settlement in 1904 and Tolstoy Farm in 1910, and 2 ashrams in India, Sabarmati Ashram in Ahmedabad in 1917 and the Sevagram Ashram in Wardha, Maharashtra in 1936, where Kasturba Gandhi and Mahatma Gandhi lived in poverty like the common villagers of India. These ashrams were his ideals of a non-violent face-to-face society for Sarvodaya, the welfare of all, and carrying out constructive programs, which is his second gift to humanity. Gandhiji's ashrams had a mingling of political and spiritual aims. It was a practical laboratory for transforming ordinary men and women into extraordinary satyagrahis, for offering the highest sacrifice in the freedom struggle on one hand, and to get involved in constructive programs to serve the poorest of the poor, to establish their self-respect and justice. I am happy to inform you that I was born in his last ashram in Sevagram. My father was inspired by Gandhiji since his childhood and joined the non-violent freedom struggle in India and lived in the Sevagram ashram. Even after Gandhiji passed on in 1948, for more than 5 decades, my parents and all of us have continued to walk on the path that Gandhiji has shown to humanity. The life and thoughts of Mahatma Gandhi are intertwined and inseparable. His politics was imbued with his spiritual experiments, and his spirituality was tempered by his vision of a non-violent society, and his constructive work was integral to his politics. The unique practices of Mahatma Gandhi, his control of palate, his fasts, his spinning, his silence, and his prayers gave him the internal strength and were as much a part of his politics as of his spiritual life. These practices and experiments were sustained and nurtured by the community in the ashrams that he had founded. The ashram community, through its own practices, affirmed, modified, and validated Mahatma Gandhi's ideals and practices, and continues to do so even till today. This shows the relevance of his practices. Gandhiji carried out his experiments in health and wellness through nature cure in the ashrams. His diet control, hydrotherapy, sun bath, mud packs, and observing silence for one whole day was part of the treatment. So the Obviously, all the ashram inmates also participated in it. Our friend, the British Quaker, Sir Horace Alexander, lived in Gandhiji's ashrams for quite some time. And he noticed that the bell used to ring 56 times in the ashram. He said, and I quote, Gandhi had wonderful courtesy and punctuality. I was to learn quickly that he was the slave of watch. He had more to do in every 24 hours than almost any other man. So he had learned how to pack the most into every minute. Yet he never gave the impression of being hurried and impatient. Gandhiji has given three gifts to humanity. The first one is Satyagraha. The second one is constructive programs. And the third one is Ekadasha Vrata, or the 11 observances, which were a set of rules for the ashram inmates for spiritual progress and voluntary self control. Ivan Illich, the Croatian Austrian philosopher, came to Sevagram Ashram in 1978 and sat for a long time in the cottage where Bapu ji used to live. It is called Bapu Kuti. Bapu in Hindi means father. And he said, and I quote, this hut of Mahatma Gandhi demonstrates to the world how the dignity of the common man can be brought up. It is also a symbol of happiness, which we can derive from practicing the principles of simplicity, service, and truthfulness. I will play the Gandhi Katha Dhun, which explains Gandhiji's philosophy of truth is God.
आँखें पवित्र राख सत्य ही तू बोल, आँखें पवित्र राख सत्य ही तू बोल, ईश्वर साक्षात होंगे अंतर टटोल, ईश्वर साक्षात होंगे अंतर टटोल, सत्य ही है परमेश्वर बापू का बोल, सत्य ही है परमेश्वर बापू का बोल, उसी परमेश्वर की नित्य कर तू शोध, उसी परमेश्वर की नित्य कर तू शोध, आँखें पवित्र राख सत्य ही तू बोल, आँखें पवित्र राख सत्य ही तू बोल, ईश्वर साक्षात होंगे अंतर टटोल, ईश्वर साक्षात होंगे अंतर टटोल, ईश्वर साक्षात होंगे अंतर टटोल.
Though Gandhiji's role and contribution to the political arena are well known, what is less known is his contribution towards health and wellness. Gandhiji was a firm believer in the principle that a healthy mind keeps the body healthy, and he stressed on the importance of a healthy lifestyle and positive thinking. His interest in health, hygiene, nutrition, and diseases was as great as his interest in politics. He insisted that adopting preventive measures for diseases was better than treatment. He also said that it was important to focus on cleanliness, a controlled diet, and an exercise regimen, and that it was best to avoid overconsumption of medicines, especially those that were not required. He was also a firm believer in nature cure and conducted experiments related to diet and fasting. He always believed that it was important to understand what caused diseases and then remove that very cause rather than falling ill again and again and then attempting to treat it with excessive medication. Gandhiji was essentially a man of science. He approached problems in a scientific manner. Gandhiji's message to the world on the vital question of health and well being is very important. To him, the study of this question was part of the service to God and His creation, which was His mission. Knowing to care summed up His life. His message was simple and easy to follow. It encouraged everyone to respect simplicity, voluntary self control, reduce the bonds, follow the tradition, cultural practices and the values, follow the environmental credo, and treat oneself through nature cure for living in harmony with nature. Gandhiji was very interested in health and wellness and remained ever vigilant about his own health as well as of others. He said that our lifestyle should be such that it should not let any disease come anywhere near us, and every person is responsible for looking after his or her body, mind, and spirit impeccably. He advised that in order for keeping physically, mentally, and spiritually healthy, we should have perfect understanding of our bodies, which is made up of the five elements that are found in nature. And that is what has been told by our ancient seers and sages of India. And these five elements are air, water, fire, earth, and space. For the wellness of our bodies, the balance and harmony between all these five elements is necessary. During the COVID 19 pandemic, enveloping ourselves in the rhythms and forms of nature can be transformative and healing. Ayurveda, the ancient healing tradition of India, recommends spending time in nature every day. Doing so allows us to experience the wonderment of this existence with all our senses. Nature allows us to shift our attention beyond the domain of our ego and to recognize that we are inextricably connected to the universe. From the mind body perspective, Gandhiji's standpoint was that health is an optimal integration of body, mind, spirit, soul, and environment. Environment is our extended body. There is a very nice Vedic expression from the ancient traditions of India which says, as is the atom, so is the universe. As is the microcosm, so is the macrocosm. As is the universal body, so is the cosmic body. As is the universal mind, so is the cosmic mind. Yoga and meditation integrate all components of health, and Gandhiji was a strong believer in nature cure, Ayurveda, and Ashtanga Yoga as well. His experiments with nature cure were always on himself. He also advised his friends and disciples to follow these remedies and treated and cured 30,000 patients through nature cure. Dr. Sherwood Eddy, a leading American Protestant missionary, a prolific writer and educator, visited Gandhiji in the Sabarmati ashram in 1929 and wrote that Gandhiji's bodily presence is like that of Apostle Paul or Socrates. He impressed us as the most childlike, the most transparent, the most lovable of man. His whole character is centered in his unique passion in truth and reality. Very few people know that as a couple, Gandhiji and Kasturba Gandhi contributed immensely 123 years ago to public health emergency, treating the patients and serving humanity. During the Second Anglo-Boer War from 1899 to 1902 and in the Zulu uprising of 1906 in South Africa, Barrister Mohandas Gandhi established the Natal Indian Ambulance Corps along with 300 free Indians and 800 Indian indentured labor and served as stretcher bearers for the grievously wounded prisoners of war. He not only went in Johannesburg in 1904 when there was a bubonic plague outbreak, with his wife Kasturba Gandhi rushed to help them but quarantined the patients in an empty godown after thoroughly cleaning and sanitizing it and treated them through nature cure. Gandhiji and Kasturba Gandhi returned to India in 1915 at the age of 45, and in 1918 there was an outbreak of Spanish influenza pandemic. Gandhiji opened up his Sabarmati ashram as a quarantine center, treated and served patients through nature cure, provided simple vegetarian diet to boost immunity and maintain physical distancing. Gandhiji and Kasturba Gandhi took care of the families of the patients, looked after their physical, mental, and spiritual needs, gave them correct information for maintaining physical distancing, hygiene, exercise, and other things to be becoming positive, and joined them in prayers and meditation, and taught them to take care of each other during the time of the Spanish flu pandemic. On 10th November 1918, Gandhiji had said, and I quote, "Our ancestors could build such tough bodies in the past, but today we are reduced to a state of miserable weakness and are easily infected by noxious germs moving about in the air. There is one and only one really effective way by which we can save ourselves from them, even in our present broken state of health. That way is the way of self restraint or of imposing a limit on our acts." In 1906 or thereabout, in his newspaper Indian Opinion, Gandhiji had published a few articles on Guide to Health, and it became very popular. In August 1948, he wrote the book Key to Health, in which he wrote that anyone who observes the rules of health mentioned in this book will find that he has got in it a real key to unlock the gates leading him to health. He will not need to knock at the doors of doctors or Vaidyas, the traditional health practitioners, from day to day. Today, the world is facing three kinds of crisis globally. First is the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic, which is causing immense physical stress, sickness, death, fear of death, and existential crisis. The second is the serious and long drawn financial crisis, which is also causing physical and mental anguish. And the third is the ecological crisis, which has already impacted everyone. We have to look for answers somewhere within ourselves by learning from the life of Mahatma Gandhi, who had said, "My life is my message." It was an open and transparent life, and there is so much to learn from that. The lesson the pandemic is teaching us is simple. When one member of the family falls sick, the entire family is affected, and soon the community is affected, the nation is affected, and then other communities in other nations in this globalized world. The well being of one individual has an impact on people on the other side of the globe. This is true of every action of ours. What we eat, what we buy, what we think, and what we do has reverberations and repercussions on all life on earth. It is this anubandha, this interconnectedness, that sustains all life on earth. We are all in this together as one human family, whether we choose to see it or not, living on the same planet Earth, our Mother Earth. The current COVID 19 pandemic is a wake up call for every country, big or small, rich or poor, developed or developing. It has opened our eyes to the fragility of the existence of humans. Our ancient sages and seers have always looked upon us as Vishwamanava, global citizens, and said that this world is one family, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Therefore, we need to work out a solution together during this crisis. Many lessons are very clear, and some are still unknown, surrounding us in uncertainty. This uncertainty is causing mental stress, anxiety, existential crisis, fear of extinction, and death and the mass psychology of living in depression and grief is pointing out towards this fact in the current pandemic. We are collectively grieving for the loss of our known lifestyle. When a crisis makes you feel stressed, meditation, prayer, chanting, and deep breathing relieves the stress response. Fear and anxiety are forms of stress that become exaggerated when events become uncertain, when you feel a loss of control over the situation, and when the stress keeps repeating itself without let up. The thinking mind reacts to all of these conditions. It always has, even in normal times, but a crisis brings stress into high relief, making it very capable of lowering the immune system of our body and causing inflammatory diseases. Decades ago, stress was classified as epidemic of modern life. The Gandhian way of life is the best guide to practicing the coping mechanism that induces relaxation, calmness, inner peace, absence of anxiety, and remaining positive. Therefore, Gandhiji comes across as the greatest healer and the wellness guru who comes free of cost during and after the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. Gandhian principles of freedom from fear and care for all is a perfect prescription in these times. Gandhiji's emphasis on healthy lifestyle, empowerment for self-care and care of the community would make perfect sense. I once again take this opportunity to thank the Indian Mission for hosting the Gandhi Katha. My special thanks to all of you who have joined me online. I will end with the Sanskrit peace benediction for the universal welfare. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayaha, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let all be happy. Let all be healthy. Let all experience auspiciousness. Let no one be overwhelmed by grief. Om, peace, peace, peace. With Gandhiji's blessings, who had said that peace is the only positive force which will lead us from darkness towards light, I will end today's Gandhi Katha with the Gandhi Katha hymn in Hindi, Shubha Mangal Ho. May the earth be auspicious, may there be auspicious good, may there be good, may the earth be auspicious, may the sky be auspicious, may every particle on earth be auspicious.
मंगल हो शुभ मंगल